Greetings and salutations. Welcome back to another episode of the Back of the Pack podcast. I am not your host, Kyle Walker. My name's Kody Dyke, and I am joined this week by Will Miller and Kyle Walker.
What am I supposed to do with my hands? I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Been through
I
hell
don't
and
know what to
back.
do with my hands. Here, how about this? How about you let me give it a try? Hello, everyone. Greetings and salutations. Welcome back to another episode of the Back of the Pack podcast. As you can see, we are off and rolling already. I am your host, Kyle Walker, but I have been called worse things. Joining me this week, we have Kody Dyke and William Miller. Gents, how y'all feeling today?
Not too bad. Thank you for having us.
I'm ready for another half marathon.
Yeah,
Let's
I
do it.
figured you would be. You probably wanted to do another one, do some back-to-backs like we did a couple of weeks ago, you big jerk. So for those of you who don't know, the three of us were just in El Dorado, Kansas for the Hell on Gravel half marathon. Now, Hell on Gravel offers a 50K, a full marathon, and a half marathon. We were all half stupid and did the half marathon, but this is our, well, at least for me and I believe Kody, our first technical ultra marathon event. Will, what do you think? You are well known throughout the running community here in Kansas City, but you've stepped away a little bit from road racing to ultras. How did this race kind of compare to some of the ultras you've done? Where would you rank Hell on Gravel?
Well, it was hell, but I believe it was right up there with the rest of them. If we get into it, I mean, we'll go through it a little bit here later, but the volunteers there were top notch. There, I mean, we knew exactly where we're going, every place, and there was enough aid stations there. Kody will kind of tell you a little bit about the aid stations, but I think it was great. I think it ranked right up there with all the ultras that I've done before.
Okay. And Kody, how about you? This was your first technical ultra. What did you think of the event overall?
It kind of showed me that you can have a really amazing event and a really good race without the big production of some of the bigger races around here. It was simple and it was a blast. I mean, it really was. It was fun start to finish. It wasn't too bad out there weather-wise, so we weren't out there just suffering and wishing we weren't there. The course itself wasn't horrible, and I mean, there was maybe, I don't know, 8 volunteers there.
Mm-hmm.
2 aid stations that we hit four times total. Yeah, it was just simple. It was easy. It was beautiful. It was fun. I loved it. I had a really good time.
And you actually did quite well. Tell everyone about your overall, where you ranked in your grand scheme of half marathoning after this race.
Oh yeah. Lightning McQueen out there. I finished 5th overall and 3rd overall male. So it was a smaller race. So let's not conflate anything. I wasn't like I was out there performing with the elites, but did pretty well during the race. I felt really, really good. I ran the entire thing except for the aid stations, which is only the 3rd time I've ever done that. Yeah, I felt good. Had beautiful weather. I had a lot of fun. It was awesome, start to finish, the whole weekend.
Yeah. Yeah. So the day before, Will, Kody, and I, we all loaded up, road trip down to El Dorado, joined up with some other Kansas City area runners down there, had some dinner at a very nice place down there. Anyone remember, what was that called? Willie's
Diner or something
Willie's
like that.
Diner? All right. So shout out to Willie's Diner in El Dorado. And then it was just a quick, grab some sleep and get up and do the race the next morning. But Will, see, I had a question for you and it went in and out of my head. No, actually, I remember it now. So we were surprised because this was only 40 people total in this race. Is that indicative of what you see in the ultra marathon community? These small races?
The smaller ones, yes, but kind of like Kody said, it's a smaller production. But then on the flip side, it's a huge production because you have to think about those. What was it? The 8 volunteers we seen. Back and forth, but those people got to be out there all day.
Yeah.
We was there for 2 or 3 hours. Those people have to be there from early 5, because I think it started 5:30.
I think the ultra marathoners started at 5:30.
They had to be out there at 5, and some of those 50K people don't get done until about 9 hours in. So, I mean, they're probably out there probably until 5, 6 o'clock at night in that sun. So, but yeah, it's some of the smaller races will be that kind of participant and smaller. But I mean, you still have some of those other ones out there that have the full blown aid stations where I mean you're getting pancakes, you're getting quesadillas, you're getting bacon and eggs and pizza and all sorts of stuff. But
Maybe for those longer distance people, not the half marathoners like us.
correct, yeah,
I did get some gummy bears though. Totally got some gummy bears. It worked out really
yes.
well for me.
I always hit the the candy stations. They're
Absolutely.
great.
Now, tell me this, and Cody's going to show us here in a second. I know we were in awe of the bling from this event. How does the bling rate up there in the ultra marathon community? Cody, why don't you go ahead and prop that thing up? Use both hands so you don't throw your back out, and show everybody the medal that comes with this race. Yeah, there it is. So this
I got a big
doubles.
head like Kyle.
It is as big as your head, but you have a really small head. But yeah, that's these medals are awesome. Like I think they're really great. So Will, tell us about that. How does this rate with other ultra medals that you've seen?
I mean, the size of that medal, they are up there. I mean, they're top notch. Some of the ultra worlds will do a handmade personal medal, which is kind of nice too. But I knew what kind of medal was going into it. I didn't know it was that kind of medal where that was very respectful. I think it's better than some of the street races we got, to be honest
Oh,
with you.
absolutely.
They are, Cody, if you can show that again, show the backside, because that's actually a belt buckle. Now, with this one being so large, Cody, you want to say something so it'll pick up you, show the camera?
Yeah, hey, me.
Oh yeah. No, it's going to be all three of us simultaneously. Trust me.
Right. But I mean, me personally, if I put that on my pants, my pants are falling down. That thing is that huge and heavy. I mean, it's a solid metal. I enjoy it.
Yeah, the points I think would hurt once I sat down.
Oh yeah.
They would stab me in places I don't want to be stabbed.
I mean, look at your medals back there behind you. I mean, you're gonna have to reinforce that wall to hang that
Let's see
one
here.
Sure.
So we know that this one right here is the big Fargo. All right, Fargo full marathon. Here's hell on gravel. Every bit as big.
Right.
So yeah, that's I mean it's a full marathon sized medal. And again, we did the half marathon, but everyone got the same medal for this race. So the 50K, the half, and the full, they all got one of these big beasts right here. So it was impressive. It was definitely impressive.
Yeah, shout out to the Oz Race Company because that was for the people that chase medals. That's one for the ages.
Yeah, Cody, what do you think about that? Are you a medal chaser at all?
Oh yeah. I mean, I'll be honest with you, that was 90% of the motivation signing up for this race. But I will say I can understand why it could be that big. I know a lot of the ultra world, they tend to do like there's a lot of night races, evening races, like early morning stuff, heavy wooded trail runs, stuff like that. Just from what I've seen, people sign them, like Will signs up for and folks like that they do. And so for it to be that size, I can kind of understand because if you're out there and if it was, typical July weather,
Ooh, yeah.
I mean, you are earning that medal out there because there's not a lot of shade. You are out there with the sun and nature and the cows, and you're going to be probably pretty warm by the end of it. I mean, it got warm for us towards the end of that thing.
Yeah.
And it was only in the, early low 80s, 81, 82 degrees. But if it's typical July and it's 85, 90 degrees during that race, you're going to want a big medal to come into because if not, you might not be coming back. You might just get in the car and go home.
Right.
Yeah, no, we did luck out on the weather. So it was about 63 degrees when we started the race. Now the humidity was already up into the 80s in percentage. I think 84% when we started. So 63 degrees with 84% humidity. That still can be a little uncomfortable, but yes, for July, I'd say we lucked out something fierce. As we were all saying, as we were standing around, talking before the race, like, wow, we've really caught a break with the weather today, which I know disappointed Cody.
Yeah, it did. It was almost chilly at the beginning of that race, which is disheartening, but
I don't know if chilly is the right word that I would choose, but let's go through the course here. So okay, so we started in a park, right? We immediately leave the park, go take a right, go under a bridge. Tell us about what happens when you leave the road, Will. What was that?
Yeah, it was automatically Warrior Dash, Tough Mudder. All of a sudden, I wasn't ready for the obstacles. You had to climb underneath this bridge, go over this log, and you're like, okay, we're good now. We can go a little bit farther. You go a little bit farther, and there's another log, and you got to jump over like 3 or 4 of them, and everybody just bottlenecks right there. And once you get past that, you go through the shaded area, and you're like, okay, and then it goes to complete sun, complete no shade, sun,
Yep.
and hell for the next 6 miles until the turnaround.
Yep. So the obstacle course was only within the first, I don't know, half mile of the start and finish line because it was just an out and back. So the rest of the time, the other 12 miles, you are in the middle of a gravel road. So Kody, since you and I are new to the ultra world, tell us about the gravel. How did the gravel affect your running?
Well, so I'll tell you right when we so you go through the park, up this little hill, down the sidewalk, over a bridge, and then you turn into this grass area, and there's a guy like this way, this way, this way, and you go like through a little gap in the grass. It's kind of like underbrush under this bridge, and then up the hill over the logs. Well, as soon as we got under that bridge and turned to go up that hill, I rolled my ankle and I heard it pop, and I'm like, oh boy, this is gonna be a great day so far. And so I rolled my ankle a couple of times on the gravel because it's big, chunky gravel. It's not like the small crush that you see on some of the other trails like John Brown, or like the Rock Island Trail, the Flint Trail. But overall, I really, maybe we got lucky again there too, because it's going to depend on if they have just redone that or raked that gravel. It looked like it was in pretty good condition right there. We had some and enough grooved areas from
Mhm.
tire tracks that we could run on mostly flat area for the race. So it wasn't too imposing, but it definitely brought an aspect of constantly thinking about, when I do road races, I call it getting a little lazy. I get a little lazy in those later miles, and I'll find myself kicking pebbles on the road or something because I'm not picking my feet up all the way. Well, I
Mhm.
really had to think about, okay, make sure you're picking your feet up here because I'm going to keep rolling my ankle. I'm end up on the ground at some point, which thankfully I did not. But yeah, the gravel was definitely an added challenge to this race.
And Will, what about you? How does this rank with other ultras, just by way of the grapple? Because it's not a John Brown and it's not a Rock Island. That's crushed limestone. That's real
Mhm.
fine, pebbly stuff. This was actual legit gravel at times.
Right.
So how does this rank?
That's probably normal. And Kody hit it, hit the nail right on the head. You do have to concentrate from the get-go on where you put your foot. Most races, like street races, at the end, you have to pay attention to what you're doing because you start dragging your feet. But in the ultra world, that's from step one. You start the finish line or go across the start line, and you have to pay attention right then.
Yeah.
As you guys kind of seen, quarter mile in and there's a big tree. Um, but yeah, that gravel was different, but that's also normal usually.
Okay. Yeah. So let's go back to the fallen tree. Do we know, is that a usual part of this route, or was that something that had maybe happened from last year to this year and became an issue?
I I think Gahan said something like you do have to climb up that ditch
Mhm.
when you first start. So possibly, but I mean, we did have some storms, this year. So I mean, that could be something new, but it was
It was
fine at the first. But when we came back that 13 miles, yeah, I was done. I just wanted to like barrel roll over that thing.
Yeah, no, that part definitely was not fun after going out and coming back to then have to go down that hill over the logs. I think I'd rather go up them actually. Seemed like I was in more control. Momentum was
Right.
trying to take me down that hill one way or the other once we
Yeah,
were coming back.
I agree.
But what are you going to do? So, Kody, again, let's go back to this smaller field. You performed really well, but tell us about, again, because you're new to the ultra world, that finish line I thought was something different than everything else. And the reason I think that is because we were all there cheering on people we don't know. We're all up at the little park bench talking to people we don't know. Talk about that sense of community you felt with this just very small group of runners. Because to me, it felt different. We see our teammates after a 5K. We don't hang around and just talk like that. So, what did you think? First impressions of the post race after we were done?
Yeah, so I mean, we touched on that when we were talking in the car on the way back. I will say, that kind of harkens back to the smaller feel of things. You know, I've talked before about how I really enjoy races with big crowd support and how that can kind of push you through races at time, especially if you're lacking motivation or if you're especially tired towards the end of a race. Um, I don't know what it was about this race. I just had a sense of purpose and energy all the way through. It didn't feel particularly long. Like some races you get into and it's like, oh my goodness, when is this race going to be over? This felt like it flew by and it was just a good time the entire time. It was a good challenge the entire time. But coming back into the park there as you finish, um, so you touched on how many people were there in all of the races. There were 17 in the half marathon itself. And out
Yep.
of that 17, the Kansas City runners, brought 7 people. So, I mean, we make up a majority of that field, which was pretty neat because we were all kind of there together, cheering each other on, waiting for each other to get, across that finish line. But then when we got back up under they have a gazebo park shelter right there that they were kind of stationed at. They had all kinds of food, donuts, snacks, drinks. They had a big vinyl thing you could take a picture in front of and all that stuff. But everybody just kind of congregated there, except for a few that went ahead and took off. And I mean, immediately asking, "Hey, yeah, what's your name? Oh, you did well out there." And just what other races have you done? And this, I mean, we sat for maybe 30 or 45 minutes just kind of talking to other people, sharing backgrounds and sharing who we are, talking about what was coming up next, if we were going to come back, which
Yep.
I fully plan on doing, and other events that race company itself puts on, which was pretty neat to hear about. I guess they do 7 total races, but yeah, it was smaller, but it felt more hometown, like more homey, more welcoming.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, this big production and you guys got to get out of here or anything. It was a neat experience. It was really a good time.
Yeah, and shout out to the race director who was sitting there shooting the breeze with us. A
Yeah.
lot of times that they're so busy or there's so much going on, they don't have a chance to do that. And she was able to sit there, but she was showing you guys pictures on her phone of other races and medals and different things that they offer. And again, it was Will, who was it? Oz Events, is that correct?
Yeah, I'd have to look back, but it's Oz something. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I think it's Oz Event. Well, you know what? It's on my medal right here. How about I take a look? Yep, Oz Events. And so I thought they really did a great job. And again, just the medals alone were wonderful. So, Will, again, let's go back to kind of that community feel and relate that to some of the other ultras that you've done. Where did
it,
Hell on Gravel rate?
well, like Cody said, it was family from the start. It's like they knew us when we walked up. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, we made a few comments, that we were coming, but they knew all of us when we started, walking up. They're like, oh, there they are. Hey, do you guys know, you want to do the podcast here? And, do you got some stuff you want to talk to here? But I don't know how to compare it to, without making anybody upset, but the ultra world for me, it seems like every bit of it is, everybody knows it's a hard thing. I mean, the road race, it's like you go out and run your half marathon, you leave, or I did 13 miles, or I'm faster than you, or yada yada. But the ultra community, if it's a half marathon, 50K up, it's hard. I mean, you guys kind of seen it today. I mean, it's a normal race that you did with John Brown, but it's a little bit harder because it's a whole different feel. But that's welcome. Everybody's welcoming like that all the time at every one of them. And I want to ask you guys a question.
Oh,
Flipping back to last week's episode, did you guys feel the imposter syndrome when you guys walked up? You know, and like, how did you guys feel walking into it? Because you've never been to one of these events.
Yeah, Kody, fire away.
Yeah, I mean, there was a big intimidation factor there. It did help that the race director and some of the folks knew who we were and they were so open. Or, I think back to what you were saying, she was even like, "Yeah, you guys need to bring the recording equipment next year and just do it here." And we're like, "Well, that'd be kind of cool." Um, so I think that, and then just being there with you guys kind of eased my mind on the anxiety side of things. I didn't really know what to expect. I knew we were going to have to go off road there for a little bit, but because it was mostly on gravel, I wasn't too intimidated. Like, we've done a lot of gravel trail races when it comes to like John Brown or Longview is halfway gravel. So it wasn't much of an imposter syndrome there for me when it came to that, but kind of seeing everybody getting ready and that, I went with more of a minimalist feel this weekend. Um, I, I went so minimalist, I forgot my socks. Let's just talk about that real quick.
I wasn't going to
So,
bring that up.
No, I wasn't going to mention that.
yeah, no, thanks for having an extra pair, Will. I really appreciate that. But,
But that's what we do. I mean, like, seriously, I mean, that's where we take care of each other. You know, you guys have said that before. It's just a huge community. And
yeah. So, it honestly, I really appreciated that. That would have kind of stunk running that with no socks, but I would have. But I went with the small collapsible cup instead of my typical water bottle. And then just kind of seeing everybody there, they got their hydration packs on and their belts. And I'm like, oh man, did I kind of bite off more than I could chew here? What's going to happen here? Um, but just right there at the beginning, one of the race directors or one of the volunteers brought us all in and explained very clearly, like, hey, you need to know, like, if you do this, you've done something wrong, turn around. If you go this way, you've done something wrong, turn around.
Yep.
And just making sure everybody understood exactly where they were going, how this whole thing was going to happen, and then just everybody kind of knowing who we were and knowing our names and that helped me a lot with the anxiety side of this is something completely new. So
Yeah,
wow.
for me, I think because shout out to the folks from Too Slow for Boston. I said on that show that was a very ultra feel, and I know a lot of them are ultra runners. So it was a very similar feeling to when I went to Too Slow for Boston. Now, there, I absolutely felt like a poser who didn't know what in the hell he was doing. And as they were going through their opening safety brief, I was thinking, oh my, I've never been to a race that's done this before. So I was definitely freaking out a little bit there. But Too Slow for Boston went great, and those people are wonderful. We get to Hell on Gravel. We start that safety briefing. I'm thinking, okay, I've been through this before. Like this makes sense. I've been there, and it's because of prior experience. Where I panicked was after we started and we went off road almost immediately into that grass, down that hill, over the logs. I'm panic stricken. Like, oh, holy crap! Are we doing 13 miles of this? Because I didn't sign up for 13 miles of this. Is this what we're doing? Whoa! I thought there was gravel. Why am I in the mud under a bridge? And that's where, and I think Will and I talked about it. I slowed way down for my first 3 miles. I was taking everything so careful and so easy until I felt comfortable again to try and find any kind of my usual slow person stride. But I was very cautious because after starting like that, I had no idea what else to expect. Now, as soon as you hit the turnaround, you're like, okay, I know exactly what to expect because I've done half the course and now I'm going back. But no, the opening stages of that event had me woohoo. Like I was definitely really worried about what to expect and what was coming up because it did not start the way that I had envisioned it in my own head. And so that's kind of where I was at. But again, I harken back to Too Slow for Boston and doing that. It was a good introduction to what awaited us at kind of this full on ultra event this past weekend.
I
yeah,
think you
you're
guys,
just waiting for an orange arrow to veer off the road into a tree line, down a ditch, and over another riverbank or something. But
Yeah,
it
I was
went well.
definitely watching the orange paint on the ground. And that was the one thing. And you guys had me totally freaked out after you told me after the fact. When I turned around at the half turnaround point, I turned around because there were people there, but they were just cheering on another runner. Had they not been standing there, who knows how far I would have gone before I realized I was off course. So that was definitely a big thing. There's no cone in the middle of the road. It was just two little orange arrows painted. And you got to watch for that nonsense. And I was lucky that there were people in front of me. I saw a turnaround, and then those people were there, but they weren't official. So that was almost a big mistake on my part.
There's a sign about this big that said half marathon turnaround, and there was some weeds in front of it.
Right.
Thankfully, I was like fourth, and there was like three other people that had come running back my way, and I was like, okay, it's got to be around here somewhere. I'm like looking at my watch. Okay, almost halfway there. Okay, there's the sign. Let's turn around here and head back. But
And since he does listen to this show, go ahead and give grief to the guy who went flying by you, that kind of took care of you there at the end when you thought you were doing great, who started the race a little late, and so we're going to give him grief because he started the race late. So Kody, please throw him under the bus, and I'm going to laugh.
oh well, first so for whatever reason, I was in my own head just starting this race, just having a good time, typical Kody BS, laughing and joking. I see there's one girl in front of us that we saw at St. Joe. I'm with Gayanne and Bethany, and we're jogging. I'm thinking, well, there's only like three people in front of me. Like I'm kind of cruising here, And then I pass the one guy, and I'm thinking, well, heck, I'm the first overall male at this point. And so I get up to that girl that we saw in St. Joe, and I asked her about mile 4. I said, is there anybody else in front of us? And she said, yeah, there's one girl and two guys. And I go, oh, okay. And so we get to the turnaround, and they're about half a mile ahead of us. There's this kid. He looks like he's about 16, another male, and then another female. And so we're kind of cruising along, and eventually the St. Joe lady passes me for good at the last aid station, and she goes, oh, there's just a 5K left. And usually I'm the one that's like, all right, put the hammer down, 5K, let's cruise in. No, I was running like a 9:30 pace, and I wasn't getting on her at all. And she was only like a tenth of a mile ahead of me. And then she finishes 2 minutes in front of me. So she really just like crushed that last 5K. But I think you're talking about Dan. I did finish ahead of him, but he was a mile and a half behind me at the turnaround. I remember seeing him. And then I finished, got my medal. I walked up there. I chugged like 3 cups of water because I realized I underhydrated during that race. And then I turn around, and he's crossing the finish line. And I was like, holy moly, what the heck? What is going on here? And they were like, oh, yeah, he started about 15 minutes late. He thought the start time was 7:30 instead of 6:30. So he showed up late. But Dan, dude, you crushed that thing. You just absolutely blew that out of the water for starting 15 minutes late. I would have been completely in my head that whole race and had a horrible race, but you did awesome. So
Yeah, he
yeah,
caught up and passed me as I was getting close to the turnaround, but wasn't there yet, and passed me like I was standing still, said hi, bye, in like one breath, and
Right.
freaking road runner down the road there. Like, thanks, man. Thank you so much, you fast runner, you.
yeah. Come to find out, that kid that was in first was just there with some friends. He actually was not signed up, and he blew everybody out of the water by like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But because he didn't sign up, he didn't get a medal or anything like that. He was just like, he was a 15-year-old kid. And I was just like, are you kidding me? And he was like, yeah, I was just here with I don't know if it was his mom or what, but he's like, I started out in the back with them, but I decided I wanted to go ahead and run a little bit. And I was like, yeah, run a little bit. You're like, finish at like 140. I'm like, whatever, dude.
I think he was like 6'4", and 6 foot of that were his legs. Good
Yeah.
Lord, that kid, just his strides were a mile long. Like, how do
Yeah.
you do that?
Yeah. So if it wasn't for Dan, turning it on there at the end, I would have been second overall male, but he ended up finishing, his overall time
Yeah.
was shorter than mine, even though he finished just behind me there. So
Yeah. Well, he's just quick like that, I guess. But yes, I
Well,
know he
shout-
listens, so I had to give him a hard time about that. So take that, Dan.
And if the other people are listening from that race, shout out to the 2 people that done their first half marathon there.
That's right. Yeah, there were
Yeah.
2. Yep.
Congratulations on that. I mean, I don't know if I would have chose that for my first one, but
I can guarantee you I would not. I would not have
Right.
ever chosen that race to be my first half marathon or any gravel ultra road race like that.
I don't know. I mean,
No, thank you.
the medal may have drug me in, but
Oh,
yeah.
that's true. That's true. Yeah, the metal makes us do really stupid things sometimes. And this is a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, like sign up again.
Oh, absolutely. We're going back next year, right?
I'm down.
Yep. I think Kody, who
Yeah. I'll be there for sure.
Oh, all right. Well, there we go. So Hell on Gravel, you guys got to up your metal game even more because we're coming back for more bling, because that's kind of what we do. And then get somebody out there with some chainsaws and get rid of those trees.
I want to touch on that psychology a bit though, Kyle. Just so I think I overheard one of those girls talking. The furthest they had run was like 8 miles prior to that, their
Mhm.
first, half marathon. That being their first half marathon, I really kind of wanted to tap into that, and ask like what the motivation was, because it just seems so interesting. You pick a race that's got obstacles. It's considered, an ultra feel. You got to bring your own hydration. Potentially super hot. They signed up for this, I'm sure, a few months ago, and knowing it was a July 6th race, it could have been really, really hot out there.
Right.
No crowd support. Their families weren't there cheering them on at the end. It was just them when they crossed the finish line. Like that's pretty courageous, to be honest with you. My first half marathon was the biggest one you could pick in the area at, Casey Garmin,
Yeah.
with the most crowd support and the most people there and the most hydration, the most aid stations. And I still struggled through that. And I just can't even imagine being out there for the first time running 13 miles altogether, just out there on gravel with turtles and cows and two aid stations to stop at. Like that's phenomenal. They did an awesome job.
Yeah. And honestly, I couldn't tell you why. I mean, I couldn't even tap into what their motivation for that would have been. I can see a lot of different reasons why someone would choose that. Hey, there's not a lot of people. So if I, completely bonk, no one's going to see it. There's no pressure because there's a 50K and a full marathon. So if I'm falling behind on my pace, they're not sweeping me off the course. There's still people out there. I could see a lot of reasons to do that. But then on the flip side of that, I can see all the reasons to do it. This medal is awesome. I am, as we've said, and as Kody coined the phrase, I am doing hard things. Like you could actually absolutely wear this as a badge of honor. My first was an ultra. My first went off road. My first could have been 100 degrees. My first had a great medal. So, I mean, I can see a lot of reasons why you would do this to maybe try and hide what you're doing, or I can see a lot of reasons why I'm doing this as my first because I want to have the most badass first that I possibly could. So, I mean, I
Yeah,
can see either sides of that coin.
that's true. That is true. You brought up some points I didn't think about, but either way, I mean, I think it's awesome to go out there and do something like that for your first half marathon. Is pretty incredible. So,
Yep. So, Will, what was your first half marathon ever?
Hospital Hill.
Okay, so we have a Garmin Kansas City, a Hospital Hill, and a Rock the Parkway. So we all started at the three biggest half marathons in the Kansas City area.
Right.
So yeah, I would love to know what those two young ladies thinking was on why you would choose that as your first. Because clearly we all went for the big ones. We
right.
went, go big or go home for our first three or our first half marathons. So yeah, interesting.
I'm
Interesting.
curious, was they local? Do you know by chance?
I do not. I do not know if they were local or not. Maybe that was just, kind of lack of options, but still, they're close to Wichita. There's other
Mhm.
races in Wichita that they probably could have picked from as
Yeah, I mean,
well. The
Prairie Fire just
yeah, Prairie
ran not
Fire.
too long ago,
Yeah.
For me, it was the challenge. I mean, when I did mine at Hospital Hill, I think at that time it was ranked like 11th in the world as like one of the toughest races or one of the challenge races.
So that's
But
old Hospital Hill, the old
yeah,
course.
the old one. This was
Yeah.
back. Good Lord. I've been running probably 10, 11
1987.
years. Wow. Was you even born? Was you even born then? But I think it was like 2019, if that.
2019. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you were
Oh no,
definitely on the
no.
old course then.
No, I'm sorry.
No. Yeah, you
It
were
was
way before that.
because it was the 40th it was the 39th anniversary when I
Yeah.
ran it.
And my first one was in 2011. That was 38. So yours would have had to have been 2012.
Yep.
They just did the 50th.
Yep.
Yep. So hey,
Cody, math is not my strong suit.
2019. My goodness, that's 5 years ago.
I just went through hell and back. Good Lord. I mean, come on.
that's right. He did. He went directly into hell. How many hell jokes did we make over the course of that on a little 26-hour jaunt out of town?
A
Well, there were
lot.
several. Yes.
My
A lot.
my Strava says hell yeah, brother.
Hell yeah.
Like hell yeah, brother.
Oh, Lord. Yeah, that was something. But again, we joke, but safe to say we all very much enjoyed that race and we'll definitely be going back next year. I'm hoping that we're going to have to sign up quickly before it sells out. Since we're talking about it, there's should be more people wanting to go do it, right?
Correct. So if you are listening, when registration opens up, sign up. No questions asked. Sign up right then and there.
Yeah,
Don't
sign up
wait
quickly.
until the week of, because when they close that thing, it's a small production. It's not some giant race company that's going to have 50 extra medals and it's going to allow you to sign up day before. You got to sign up when they strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah.
Sign up while they're allowing it, because they will close that registration and they're not going to continue to add people. And it's because of the logistics for them. Like, they're not going to be able to go out and get shirts printed last minute or get extra medals. So I personally, 15 out of 10 recommended. I love that race. I love the experience. El Dorado itself wasn't a bad town. We didn't spend a lot of time there, but there was nothing particularly bad about it.
Nope.
There were
Good
plenty of
company,
options.
Yeah. So I'll definitely be back.
There we go. And so Oz race folks, you guys know that we're coming. So, if you want to open up 10 more spots, we'll see if we can't fill that up for you. Well, who said that we're going to bring 1,000 people next year?
Well,
Yeah, I don't know if we can do that. I'd love to think that we could, but I don't know if we have that kind of stroke. All right, so, but I mean, again, we all give it a thumbs up. I want to make sure that they are, fully aware. They get the official Back of the Pack podcast stamp of approval. But just real quick, what's coming up next for y'all? What's on your radar? What's your next big thing? Will, what you got coming up?
I just have a Tour de Trail race coming up with Team Sparkle. It's a true trail, through the woods, rocks, tree stumps, roots, everything. But yeah, that's my next big one for this month.
For this month. What's your biggest one coming up through the end of 2024?
So yeah, I fell off the deep end. So I'm running the Chicago Marathon. 7 days later, see that, Kody? I said it's 7. 7 days later, I'm running Des Moines Marathon, or the half marathon. 6 days later, I'm running a 50K in Ottawa. So, and then 3 weeks later, I'm running another marathon. So,
and I'm still trying to get him to sign up to do KC Garmin the day after Des Moines, but we'll see how that goes.
Well,
yeah,
there's still time.
Will, do the I-35. What are you doing, man?
Yeah, dude.
All right, Kody, I know you got some big uns. Let's go, buddy.
Oh boy. So I mean, real quick hitter next week, Sunglass Run, a little 5K out in Longview. That's gonna be a fun one. Gonna be able to see all of our teammates, KCRC folks.
Not me. I'm gone. I'm out of town. Sorry.
Well, everybody but Kyle.
Yeah, you'll be okay without me.
But we're gonna have fun out there at Longview, and then one you will be at, which you love, is probably actually going to be held. Rock Island at the end of the month. So,
as I grit my teeth right now, yes, Rock Island is coming up.
I love that. It's like 6 minutes away from my house. I can get up last minute, show up. It's nice. Hopefully they give us the early start again this year. We'll go out there and cruise that little trail, similar to Hell on Gravel, but probably way hotter.
Muy caliente.
Yeah. Make sure you bring water. I'm going to bring my cup. So, and then at the end of the year, one that you're going to be there with. So we got Berlin Marathon, full marathon.
Yes, sir.
Which is their 50th, which is going to be awesome. We get there right at the end of Oktoberfest. So new country, one of the biggest things in that country, then the full marathon there. And then I turn around 4 short weeks later and do the New York City Marathon. So 2 world majors in a little over a month. Looking forward to it. My training officially started 3 weeks ago, but my first actual training run happened this last week. So we're like week 3 or 4 and we're doing great. We're having fun. So
yeah, well, I mean, you just got what, 3rd male overall in a half marathon. I'd say your training's going just fine.
Yeah.
There, sir.
Last weekend was the first weekend in like 3 months I haven't run a half marathon. So
yeah, but must have felt nice.
I'll bring it up now. So I wasn't going to bring it up earlier, but he did bring it up. So I mean, the only reason he got 3rd overall was because of the socks. I mean,
it's true. That's true.
It's true.
You do owe part of your success to Will and his socks.
Look, I was trying to give him back at the end of that race with all the good luck still left on him, and he didn't want to take them. So
I wanted you to cherish the moment. I mean, like Kyle said earlier, this is your first ultra, first, 3rd overall. So,
I might
memories
frame
for
them.
you.
In somebody
I'm-
else's socks.
You need to hang them up here on the wall behind you. I mean, you got a lot of memorabilia back there. You need to hang them up, like the baseball players do their stolen base gloves, hang them up.
I like it. I think that's a good idea. Hammer them in there.
That's right.
Put them in a frame. Put them next to the metal.
So
I don't know if
we had a request or a listener question before the show. You want it, Kody? I'm gonna let you answer it. Someone
Sure.
wants to know what's up with the tutus.
Well, our little group chat. So Kyle, Will, and I had a little group chat before this, kind of leading up to the race, since we stayed together and whatnot. Um, and for whatever reason, I was just one day I was like, you know what? The three of us are going out there. We're going to represent the Back of the Pack podcast. Why don't we make this fun and do something we haven't done? Let's dress up a little bit. Honestly, I kind of wanted to full KC cosplay this thing, but I'm kind of glad we did not, because half of that would have been off and on the side of the road before the end of that race.
Yeah.
But we got a little wild with tutu. Well, two of us did. One of us forgot their tutus. So yeah, the tutus were awesome.
Yeah, well, and the tutus really didn't have much of a reason except we wanted to do it. Sounded like fun. Since we're going out to do something ridiculous like an ultra type race, we might as well be ridiculous. Big shout out to Mile 90 Photography, who
Yeah.
we love and who we used for our run that Will and I did back in September last year, the Casey Hustle run. Mile 90 came out for that. Mile 90 was there. They also made sure not once but twice to take a picture of my tutu from behind. I saw that in the official photography. So thank you, Mile 90, for showing off my me and all my glory with my tutu and short shorts on underneath, so it looked even more ridiculous than it needed to. But
Since
looked
I
like
was
you just
behind
had
you
a
the whole
tutu on.
time, I knew that, but I didn't want to tell you.
you knew what? You knew they were going to do that to me?
Oh, I knew that they took the pictures.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of which, do you mind if I share my screen real quick?
Oh no, but go right ahead.
Let's see if it works here.
This is a first for the podcast, a shared screen.
It looked like you had nothing but a tutu on.
Well, that's there we go. That is us looking adorable. I like it.
Oh,
I really
yes.
hope this translates into the video editing software I use. Yeah, this will be great. But yes, I do actually. I love Mile 90. I think they're the best race photographers in the business, hands down. Like, there's no other question. So, shout out to them.
Yes,
Yep.
I 100% agree.
Yep. And then Kody, you did a nice little pirouette along the course. They got all the picture of your little ballerina spin.
I can't believe they had it. I could put that together in a flip book and you could see the entire
Yes.
motion. And they did an amazing job capturing that whole thing.
Yeah. So as you
And I
guys
want
can
to say
tell,
one thing.
oh,
I want to say one thing about the tutu. If you ever wear a tutu, so maybe this is why I ran so well, is the tutu was making noise that made it sound like there was somebody running right behind me the entire race. So
Yes,
the
it did.
entire race, I'm like, somebody's behind, somebody's right here behind me. Somebody's right on my heels. And I don't know. Maybe that was the motivation that just kind of pushed me into running like the second fastest half marathon I've ever ran. I don't know. It's kind of fun.
Hey, there you go. I definitely have the same problem with my tutu. It just kept making a noise like there was someone right behind me. It didn't help me run any faster though. My time was average at best, but it was definitely starting to get a little warmly in that last 2 miles, and I started real slow because of just my unsuredness. But not making an excuse. I didn't have a bad race per se, just very average.
I think you guys did really well. I mean, you didn't know what you was getting into, and you just went out there and just, started out and just had a good time, and then just let it rip. That's how running should be. Just have fun with it. I mean,
Oh yeah.
And that's where I think the ultra world comes in, is just go out there and have fun. Kind of. I mean, you guys kind of see it. Most of the people are over there eating cheeseburgers, breakfast food, and taking it like super nice. Most of the street runs, they're up there. They're doing their stretches and the A skips and B skips and all that stuff, getting ready. And ultra world, we're over there just kind of like still sitting down, chilling out,
Eating donuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, donuts.
Hey, we're gonna start in 30 seconds. Okay, cool. All right, we'll be over in a minute.
You guys might want to start going to the finish line or the start line. Yeah, okay.
We'll get there.
Yeah, if we must.
it did make me want to look into more of another more trail run before the end of the year. Not that I would ever make that myself. Like I do love road races. I love doing those. They're a little bit easier on my body. I'm not stumbling over trees. But
No
I
sense of adventure.
I definitely will look into probably another more trail-esque run like what you were talking about there, Will. I mean, that was a lot of fun. It was a good community, a lot of fun, great time.
I
So,
will selfishly plug Rails on Trails coming up in November. That's where my 50K is.
Okay.
They have all sorts of distances. So from the get-go, there is depending on, I mean, if you do the marathon, you'll get more of the breakfast food or the ultra food, I should say. But even the half marathon, I think you still get a section of that, the ultra food. But yeah, Rails on the Trails comes up in October 26th, I think, ish.
Well,
Sure.
okay. October 27th is when the big group is going to Good Life Habsy. So
Hey,
we're going to have to wish you well from a distance.
Kody, can you hear me?
yeah,
Maybe I can do Kansas City if you do.
I'm not below it.
What's that?
I'm not below it. I'll definitely. I mean, it's kind of on the way up there, right? It's in the middle of Kansas, right?
Opposite way, brother.
Well,
The other Ottawa, not Canada.
You're going to go back to back again? You want the two half marathons there, Kody?
I could do it.
Yeah.
We'll
Well, you have. We've
Let's
seen
get
you do
busy.
it. Yeah. Hated it, but we saw you do it.
Get up at 3 a.m, drive up. Right.
Ugh.
Just saying.
Turn right back around, go home.
Right.
Well, as we start trailing off into the distance here on this one, how about we wrap this bad boy up? So, Kody, give us your last thoughts, your parting shot for Hell on Gravel 2024.
Oh, it was such an amazing time. Blew me out of the water with expectations. I'll definitely be back. I can't say enough good things about it. Thank you guys for making the weekend eventful instead of me just traveling down by myself and doing my own little thing down there and back up. We had a lot of good conversation, a lot of good memories made. Will put a air mattress on top of a pull-out mattress, which made the mattress like 7 foot tall. That was unforgettable. And then he also brought the world's smallest blanket to cover up with.
All of this is
But yeah,
true.
no, it was amazing. I really look forward to our next little adventure, and I highly recommend whoever, if anybody's watching this and they're thinking about doing this next year, sign up early. Just get the sign up out of the way. As soon as you see it, as soon as you see somebody post about it, just sign up for it, and then come suffer with us because next year it'll probably be 100 million degrees and it will be hell.
Yeah, it'll be hot next year. I can almost promise you that. All right, Will, dazzle us with your brilliance or baffle us with your bullshit.
I don't know what else to say. Kody said it all. I mean, it's going to be a race between the three of us to sign up. Who signs up first?
That's true.
And I'll mirror what he said. I think going with you guys made it a blast because it could have been a lot worse. I mean, like I told you guys, at mile 12, I felt the sun like burning the inside of my ear because of how I was walking on that trail. That last piece. But yeah.
It was getting
Could have
warm.
been a lot worse. I think you guys made it a lot more fun. Yeah. Come next year, I'm signing up.
There you go. Well, and I will triple that. I'll be signing up for next year. The podcast will be going back. I don't know. Let's try and record something there. I think we could have some fun with it. And then lastly, big shout out to our other KC people who went there, Stacy, Bethany, Cassie, Gayanne. It was super fun hanging out with all you guys. Cassie not pictured in Will's background there, but she was there. And so we had a great time and looking forward to it next year. So sign up early. And again, maybe we can get them to extend it to 50 people, 55 people if there's a big demand. But we got to sign up early if we're going to make that happen. So there it is. And there's Will showing off his Back of the Pack podcast shirt, and Kody showing off his maroons.
No, your shirt.
Show your shirt off. That I really like their shirt.
Oh, you like their shirt? Yes. So I'm wearing the Hell on Gravel shirt. This kind of little yellow color. Yeah, it's just a yellow. But yeah, no, good shirt. I like this shirt. Definitely one I will wear around. So other than just for the podcast today.
Yep. It's staying in the for me too.
El Dorado treated us well.
It did. So that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Back of the Pack podcast. Remember, next week, special guest host Karen Velez comes in and we'll talk to you guys for 30 minutes. And you guys love Karen. We all love Karen. So it's going to be a super fun time while I'm out of town on my little boy's weekend vacation in Oklahoma on the lake. And so I will be back after that with all the nonsense that happens there. But no, Karen's got you guys next week, and that's going to be super fun. So that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Back of the Pack podcast. I am your host, Kyle Walker. This was Kody Dyke and William Miller as our special guest contributors this week. Everyone have a safe week of training. Stay hydrated, stay cool if you can. It is hot outside, and we will see you next week.